The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Marcus wiped down the marble floor of the prestigious Whitmore Academy's main lobby, his weathered hands moving in practice strokes. At 42, he had cleaned these same floors for 7 years, arriving before dawn and staying long after the last student left. His daughter Emma's school photo smiled at him from his shirt pocket, a constant reminder of why he endured the dismissive glances and whispered comments about just the janitor. What Marcus didn't know was that his life was about to change forever, sparked by a moment of cruelty that would reveal the true character of everyone involved. It was parent-teacher conference night, and the academy buzzed with well-dressed families discussing their children's futures over champagne and canapes. Marcus had finished his shift but stayed, late to ensure everything was perfect for the evening's events. As he quietly wheeled his cart past the elegant gathering, he noticed a small girl crying in the corner, her designer dress wrinkled and her face streaked with tears. "Hey there," Marcus said softly, kneeling to her level. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" 8-year-old Sophia looked up with startling blue eyes. "I spilled juice on my dress and now everyone's staring," Daddy said. "I embarrassed him." Her voice broke as fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Without hesitation, Marcus reached into his cart and pulled out a clean cloth. "Don't you worry about that. Accidents happen to everyone. Let's see what we can do." He gently dabbed at the stain while humming a soft tune, the same one he sang to Emma when she was upset. "There," he said with a warm smile. "Good as new. And you know what? That dress is beautiful, but what makes you really special is your kind heart. I can see it in your eyes." Sophia's face lit up for the first time that evening. "Really? You think I'm special?" "I know you are," Marcus replied, adjusting her hair ribbon with the tenderness of a father. "Now why don't you go find your parents? I bet they're looking for you." What neither Marcus nor Sophia realized was that her father, Richard Blackstone, CEO of Blackstone Industries, had been watching from across the room. His face darkened as he strode over, his expensive shoes clicking against the marble Marcus had just polished. "Sophia, get away from him this instant!" Richard's voice boomed across the lobby, causing conversations to halt and heads to turn. "How dare you touch my daughter?" Marcus stood slowly, his hands raised peacefully. "Sir, she was just upset about—" "I don't want to hear it!" Richard's face flushed red. What kind of sick individual approaches a child? "Security should be called immediately." The crowd began to murmur and point. Marcus felt his cheeks burn with shame as whispers of inappropriate and creepy janitor reached his ears. He had dealt with prejudice before, but never such public humiliation. "Daddy, no!" Sophia tugged at her father's sleeve. "He was being nice to me. He helped—" "Quiet, Sophia," Richard snapped, then turned back to Marcus with venom in his voice. "You're nothing but a low-life janitor who doesn't belong around decent people. Stay away from my family, or I'll have you fired and arrested." The lobby fell silent except for the sound of Marcus's heart pounding. He looked around at the sea of judgmental faces, wealthy, parents clutching their children closer, as if his very presence contaminated the air. His hands trembled as he gripped his cart handle. I was just trying to help," Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible. "Help?" Richard laughed cruelly. "People like you don't help. You take advantage. You're probably some ex-con who shouldn't be around children at all." That's when a clear, unwavering voice cut through the toxic atmosphere like a blade. "That's enough." Every head turned to see a young woman in an elegant black dress stepping forward. At 26, Victoria Ashworth moved with quiet confidence, her auburn hair catching the light as she positioned herself directly between Marcus and his tormentor. As the sole heir to the Ashworth fortune, a legacy worth over $3 billion, she commanded instant recognition and respect. "Mr. Blackstone," Victoria said, her voice steady but ice-cold, "I've been watching this entire interaction, and your behavior is absolutely disgraceful." Richard's eyes widened. Everyone knew who Victoria Ashworth was. Her family's charitable foundation funded half the cultural institutions in the city. "Ms. Ashworth, I was just protecting my daughter from kindness?" Victoria interrupted, stepping closer to Marcus. "From a man who saw a crying child and offered comfort? I watched him gentle that little girl with the patience of a saint while you were too busy networking to notice she was in distress. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Victoria's presence changed the entire dynamic of the room. "This man," she continued, gesturing to Marcus, "showed more parenting instinct in 5 minutes than you've displayed all evening. And your response is to publicly shame him because of his profession?" Richard's face paled. "You don't understand the situation." "I understand perfectly." Victoria's eyes blazed with controlled fury. "You're a bully who believes your bank account gives you the right to dehumanize others. Well, let me tell you something about character. Mr. Blackstone, it's not measured by the size of your wallet." She turned to Marcus, whose eyes were filled with gratitude and disbelief. "Sir, I don't know your name, but I want to apologize on behalf of everyone here for the way you've been treated. What you did was beautiful and pure, and I'm ashamed it took place in a room full of people who should know better." "It's Marcus," he said quietly. "Marcus Johnson. And thank you, ma'am. That means more than you know." Victoria smiled warmly. "Marcus, it's an honor to meet you." She extended her hand, which he shook with surprise at her genuine warmth. The room watched in stunned silence as the city's most eligible heiress continued her defense of the janitor. "You know what I see when I look at Marcus?" Victoria addressed the crowd. "I see a man who works multiple jobs to support his family. I see calloused hands that have earned every dollar through honest labor. I see someone who stops his own work to comfort a stranger's child. That's nobility, folks. That's what real class looks like." Richard attempted damage control. "Ms. Ashworth, perhaps we're all overreacting." "No, Mr. Blackstone, you're underreacting. Your daughter is crying again, not from a stained dress, but from watching her father become a monster before her eyes." Indeed, Sophia was sobbing, reaching toward Marcus while her father held her back. Victoria knelt down to Sophia's level. "Sweetheart, that man who helped you. His name is Marcus, and he has a little girl, too. He understood exactly how you felt because he's a daddy who loves his daughter just like you love yours." Sophia broke free from her father and ran to Marcus, wrapping her small arms around his legs. "Thank you for being nice to me," she whispered. Marcus's eyes filled with tears as he gently patted her head. "You're very welcome, little one." The sight of the child's pure affection for Marcus struck the crowd like a physical blow. Parents who had been ready to condemn him moments before now looked ashamed of their assumptions. Victoria stood and addressed the room one final time. "Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that's forgotten the value of kindness. We judge books by their covers and people by their paychecks. But tonight, we've witnessed something precious, unconditional human compassion. I hope we all learned something from Marcus's example." She turned to Marcus once more. "Would you do me the honor of accepting my business card? I'd like to discuss some opportunities with you, not as charity, but because anyone with your character deserves better than scrubbing floors for people who don't appreciate your worth." As Victoria handed Marcus her card, Richard Blackstone found himself alone, his cruel words echoing in the silence. His own daughter looked at him with disappointment. That cut deeper than any business rival ever could. Over the following months, Victoria's words proved prophetic. She offered Marcus a position, managing one of her foundation's community centers, work that utilized his natural gift for connecting with people, especially children. His salary tripled, allowing him to move Emma to a better school district and finally take the vacation they dreamed of. But more importantly, the friendship that began that night between Victoria and Marcus grew into something beautiful. She discovered his wisdom, his strength, and his unwavering moral compass. He showed her what authenticity looked like in a world of pretense. A year later, as Marcus watched Emma graduate at the top of her class, Victoria sat beside him in the audience, cheering just as loudly as any proud family member. The janitor who had been shamed for his kindness had become a community leader, and the billionaire heiress who stood by his side had found something more valuable than all her wealth, a friend who saw her heart rather than her bank account. Richard Blackstone, meanwhile, lost several major contracts when word of his behavior spread through the city's social circles. More painfully, his relationship with Sophia never fully recovered from the night she watched him attack a man for showing her kindness. The story of that evening became legend in certain circles, a reminder that true character reveals itself not in moments of comfort, but in how we treat those society deems lesser and In a world too often divided by class and status, it proved that humanity's greatest moments come when we choose compassion over judgment, kindness over cruelty. Marcus still keeps his old janitor's uniform in his closet, not from nostalgia, but as a reminder that dignity isn't determined by job titles. And sometimes late at night, he still hums the same gentle tune he sang to comfort a crying little girl, the melody that changed everything and proved that standing up for what's right never goes out of style.